Quinta dos Tres Rios, just outside Parada de Gunta, near Tondela and Vizul in central Portugal, is a turismo rural, or bed and breakfast. We have 6 beautiful suites, and we really look forward to welcoming you to our home. Well, today we're going to give you a little tour of this most amazing olive oil factory. This was built some 180, 200 years ago and was water powered. And the water power was from this great river, the Pavia. In fact, there are 3 rivers that join together here: the Agnes, the Dessas or Villachar, and the Pavia. And these 3 combine to give energy, which many, many years ago turned turbines, water turbines, which actually powered the belting system and pressure system, water system, to produce great olive oil. It's now been modernised a little bit. We put an electric motor in which actually cuts up the olives, but still the traditional water rams are seen inside. One thing that's very interesting about this factory is that it's not a cooperative as such, but people bring their own olives here to be processed. The olives are weighed on the weigh scale, and a ticket's produced so we know what the actual start weight of the olives, and then it goes into a conveyor. Nice gentle pump, 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 just as they pop over the top into the cleaning tub. See the olives going up there. Mostly black olives, a few green. Doesn't affect the quality, although the predominantly black olives are better around this area anyway. This wash tank removes stones and grit and then allows the olives to pass on through down to the hopper that feeds them onto the cutting machine or chopping machine. This is where basically the olives are chopped into tiny, tiny pieces to allow the release of the oil. So it's come through the cutter, the olive paste comes through there. It's been in the first mixing, they call it caldera, mixing container. And this jacket has got warm water, which just gently helps release the oil. And then comes out through an auger up into a second jacket, where it's just warmed slightly more. Temperature not much above blood heat, so 35, something like that. These mixing containers are very, very old. I think they're somewhere in the region of about 60 or 70 years old, and then onto the table for actually laying out on the pads. What you're seeing coming out the side of the pads is the liquid, which is some oil but mostly water. See, the olives are made up with a vast majority water. Only a very small percentage is olive oil. And these mats extract the oil using high pressure with water rams, which you've seen over there. What we then do is on the last mat we put one over the top to seal it, or a couple, and then a steel plate, and this is the pressure plate, which goes directly up above the ram. Right, these are the 3 water rams which provide the pressure to squeeze the olive oil from the mats where the paste has been laid, the olive paste has been laid in between, and it's compressed to release the olive oil, which ends up in this trough. There's then a tube takes it down to the stainless steel containers with very hot water where the oil is floated off. The secret of compressing these stacks is to do it very, very slowly. If you do it quickly, you don't get any of the oil out, it just splurts out the side. So that's now at naught, and we want it up to a minimum of 350 bar. It can go up to about 400. And that will take around about an hour or 45 minutes. Very, very slow compression. This one here has now been compressing for around about 45 minutes. She's up to 300, a little bit to go. And you can see the glistening of the oil where it's just coming out between the mats. So this is where the real machinery, the real work comes from. These are the 3 pumps that deliver the high pressure water to the rams, which press the oil. This actual piece of equipment was put in 1967 to supersede a similar piece of equipment that was driven from the water wheels from above here. The water wheel drove the belts instead of the electric motor that we now have in place. So the water to drive the turbines came down through this kind of bridge gate here, which actually stopped the river coming through, but just allowed the water from the channel, and came along this section and out through down through these 4 turbine ways. These drove wheels, paddle wheels, which we'll see later, which in turn drove a shaft which fed into the old factory and drove the belting system and the compression for the pumps. This is the old grinding wheel. These date back to the middle end of the last century, and the olives used to be fed down into this. These wheels would rotate and grind the olive paste exactly as we do it now with an electric motor. And it was belt driven off these amazing belts which are still here. There's actually a wooden wheel up here, and that was driven from water from the river Pavia, that runs right past this olive oil factory. The controlling device to switch it on and off was very simple. It's just a lever that pulled along and across, and the wheels then would rotate, and also rotate roundwards. After about 45 minutes, this lever was opened and a bin was placed underneath, and this was then moved into the warming containers.